Okay, well, swinging back to J.J. Johnson and getting off River Race for a second.
It's never on River Race. Let's just get that clear.
Yeah, my first encounter with JJ was my very first promo here, back when we were on the 606 boards. I basically decided to have the balls to interrupt him, try and make a tournament match, and put me v JJ Johnson as the final. In my first promo.
It's an ambitious start, and
it's never like a bad way to go about it, because when you look at, Fernando Gonzalez did it, General Sanchez did it. General Sanchez was who went on to become Rapture, and Scorpion did it. He called out Hero, and subsequently beat him.
I got fed to Cassius for 5 straight weeks.
Was that when I booked it?
No, this was not when you booked it. This was...
was that under River Race?
Yeah, under River Race, I got booked against Cassius for 5 straight weeks and beat him on the 6th attempt.
It's nearly his Heroes record against Crowley.
Oh, that's brilliant, that one.
Was it 5-0?
It was 5-0, and then it became 5-1 when I left.
Yeah, he's always got to get that one on you.
Yeah, but, JJ Johnson, basically, is an inspiration for most up-and-comers. I mean, just looking back through his past stuff, my advice would be just look at it, that's the yardstick.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it's, when you look at the character, there's nothing too complex about him. There's no, deep, well thought out backstory to him. It's just simply a guy who came up, he was a wrestler from the hood or wherever it was, and he went through the amateurs and he ended up in 6WF, and it's kind of sort of, it's very similar to The Rock, and I think that's why a lot of people relate with him, because obviously, a lot of people, they love The Rock, and you kind of see the similarities in JJ Johnson with the catchphrases and stuff, and so it's very easy to relate to the character and see, where he's come from and build on, build relationships with him,
I think he's John Cena done right.
John Cena should never be done right.
Hey. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. I just think, if you're going to compare, Tyson Armstrong would be the John Cena, just without the happy ending. No, I would still say that JJ is The Rock. And at times I think Cassius has that kind of stone cold, sort of element of, anti-hero about him. He has a lot of CM Punk in him now. It's obviously difficult to compare him to anyone, because I think he's, probably the most famous Chinese non-wrestler in the world, which is impressive.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, is there anyone actually from China or Tibet that is actually known?
Well, I suppose you've got the New Japan Pro Wrestling and stuff like that, but they're Japanese, not Chinese.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I actually can't think of anyone myself.
I think that's part of the reason why Cassius is held in such good regard, is that he's not clearly come in with a copy of anyone, but basically all of my characters, it's pretty easy to see who they've copied originally. For quite a few new guys, it's quite easy to see where they've got the idea from, but with Cassius specifically, and JJ to an extent, if you take The Rock out of it, the elements, it's not really much hinted at, except for Elijah Burke from ECW, but that's not exactly a big name to follow.
No, yeah, you're right in what you're saying. When you just wet the tongue. It's with Crime Lords, who would you compare him to? Because there is no one like him that exists. He's perhaps got, like you say, the big sort of, the gangster background, but there's no one, like you say, you can say, right, okay, well, he's just basically a rip-off of him, and he's just basically a rip-off of that. Like you say, with JJ, there's an element of someone and there's an element of here, but if you strip that back, is just a fantastic character. Like say with Cassius, you know, he's come from, you know, just an idea, right, fuck it, I'm gonna go with this. And I think one of the things I thought, you know, I always is quite key is when you look at people, you know, sometimes they get lucky with their first character, but I always think like, sometimes it takes more than one attempt to get the right character, and I think, you know, JJ, I don't think JJ was his first character. I know he had Atlas Rhodes in 6CW, and something else.
It was not Mason White, it's the other one that was called Mason, I think. The one that won the TV title from Dicey at Night of Glory.
Yeah, that's him. And then with Demon, I think you've got, obviously, he had Diablo, which was a completely different character to what Cassius is now. I think Hero had the same thing, you know. Or maybe Hero didn't. Maybe Hero is.
I think the actual Hero character changed so much though that it was in effect.
Was he not Kevin Johnson just to start with and then became Hero?
Yeah, he might have been actually. Rio?
Who was Gary?
Unfortunately, my history doesn't stretch back as far as yours does. Unfortunately, I don't know any of the original ones.
Are you talking about Gary Johnson?
I'm talking about what you two are on about. It's going straight over my head.
These are all sort of people's original characters, so, before J.J. Johnson there was Atlas Rhodes, there was, well not so much before J.J. Johnson, but they had different characters, just saying sort of how sometimes you don't always get it with your first guy.
Yeah.
Because Prime Lord had Gary Johnson, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it, that was who Gary Johnson was. And then obviously you had Crowley.
Yeah.
And then, what's his face, the Russian in CWA.
Oh, the Russian Crowley.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I just had Clark James.
Yeah, to be fair, to an extent, Dicey's got Chris Patrick's here now when he had Dicey, so.
Yeah. Even if you've not sort of gone through characters in the same fed, if you've got characters elsewhere, I mean, Dicey will have to be one for a sort of future 6CW based podcast, but you know,
yeah,
Patrick's is another one of those that, you know, has really evolved over time, you know, from where he started off, you know, as part of a sort of comedic tag team, and you know, he's gone on to be a former world champion, and you know, now he's he's refinding himself. He's had this feud with Cobra.
And he's become one of the top heels now in 6WF, and seeing as when I first joined up, it was Leone and Patrick's versus Code Efrijo and Blue Dragon. Code Efrijo, that was a great character.